Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. As you can tell, I'm not in my office today. I'm actually in a little hotel in Barcelona. It has got very good Wi-Fi, thankfully, though. And I'm delighted, though, to be doing a chat with AAPS's Tina Morris, who is the Executive Director at AAPS, and Dr. Patrick Sinko, who is the new incoming president for AAPS. Because as you may know, AAPS PharmaSci360 2022 is fast approaching. In fact, it's going to be next week, starting from the 16th and running to the 19th of October in Boston. So we thought, what better time to finally catch up with the AAPS to find out what's been happening over the last couple of years and also learn a bit more about what you can expect to see at AAPS PharmaSci360. So Tina, Patrick, it's lovely to meet you both. How are you?
Very well. Thank you, Rizwan, and thank you for having us this afternoon. I'm obviously very excited. Just to introduce myself real briefly, as you said, I'm the Executive Director at AAPS. I've been in this role since 2020. I've been a member of AAPS since 2004. I'm by training a virologist, and I have a long background in pharmaceutical analysis and CMC. And I'm very excited to be here, coming to you from Jupiter, Florida, which is usually sunny, but very dreary today. So Boston weather won't faze me.
All right, fantastic.
Well, over to you.
Yeah, over to you, Patrick. So where are you calling off from? Can you give me a little bit of your own background as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So I'm calling from my home in New Jersey, and I'm a professor of pharmaceutics at Rutgers University. I've been there for over 30 years. I'm also a longtime AAPS member. In fact, as a graduate student, I became a member of the first year AAPS was founded in 1986. So I've been a longtime member. And of course, I'm the incoming president for 2023.
Brilliant. Now, my first question to you both is, for those people not familiar with AAPS, and for those people who know what AAPS stands for, it's the American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists. Can you give me a quick overview of AAPS and what its mission is really, and a little bit about its history?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, AAPS was founded in 1986, and AAPS is a professional scientific organization of about 7,000 members. And AAPS's mission is to advance the capacity of the pharmaceutical scientists to develop products and therapies that improve global health. Now, we do that by advancing the pharmaceutical sciences to drive those preventions and cures.
Right.
And well, go ahead. We'll move on from there. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so Tina, have you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, just to add that we pretty much have a year-round engagement strategy at AAPS. You know, we're as Pat said, we're an individual member-based society. We have conferences. PharmaSci360, which we'll talk about, is our largest conference during the year. We have a national biotech meeting. We have 4 peer-reviewed journals, and we have a whole lot of other digital and in-person engagements during the year that bring our members together to help them advance their work finding life-saving medicines.
Right. And I've got one question to ask you, though, because obviously, by the very nature of its name, it is very US-centric. Mm-hmm. But obviously, science is not limited to just North America. And obviously, during the pandemic, we're going to talk about the pandemic in a second a bit more, but obviously, a lot of associations I know, but who are US-based, have become more global because of the pandemic, because they started to put on virtual events and found that they could get an audience outside of the US who are actually very interested in engaging with them as well. So is the AAPS very much a US-only organization, or do you see yourselves as more of a global organization?
I would say we are an increasingly global organization. Historically, and this is roughly over the last 20 years or so, we've gotten up to 20% global membership. And at the in-person meeting, it's been around that. Now, obviously, it's been, you know, from a travel perspective, that's been less. But we have very much seen an increased digital engagement globally. And many pharmaceutical sciences disciplines are very, very strong in particular global areas. We did during the pandemic, we did a collaboration with the Society for Dissolution Science in India, and we had 7,000 people in India on that digital conference, which was amazing, right? And so it's definitely shifted that global reach, and it's something that we're definitely keeping in mind for the future.
Right. Well, that segues nicely to what I want to talk about, is that obviously we had the pandemic obviously for 2.5 years. How has that impacted you as an organization, both from in terms of how you have supported your members, but also how you've communicated to your members as well?
I'll start that and then I'll turn it over to Pat. So my job actually at being executive director started with the pandemic. So in my very first couple of months, we made a plan we called it the Stay on the Air plan. And thanks to the very dedicated staff team and all our volunteers, we were able to pivot every single event we had committed to in 2020 to digital. So we did digital workshops, we did webinars, and PharmaSci360 in 2020 was over 350 hours of digital programming. We did not cancel a single event, and that was an enormous undertaking. And so we took our entire large meeting online, and we learned a lot about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
It was an adventure that we all took together, staff and volunteers. But we think that, and we know from the feedback from our members, that it was important to be there for our members and our partner organizations, because we support and we are carried by an audience and a membership that didn't stop during the pandemic. On the contrary, they worked much harder than ever to find test methods, reagents, cures, vaccines. They worked very differently, but they worked harder than ever, and that really impacted our science, our topics, etc. as well. And Pat can speak to that as well.
Fine, over to you, Pat.
Yeah, so from a scientific perspective, what was, in some ways great about the pandemic was that we were introduced to a lot of new subjects, looking at some old subjects, some old topics that were resurrected because of their newfound importance, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so it was a really great and exciting time. But something I want to add from what Tina said, we did keep the lights on, and the programming, kept going throughout the pandemic. But even more importantly, we actually restarted an in-person meeting during the pandemic. So it's not like we were closing down things; we were actually expanding. And we had, as an organization, we had the agility to be able to do that. So It was great.
Right, and now let's move ahead and look at it. So this event coming up next week is, I know you had a live event last year, or a hybrid event, I should say. This one, I understand, is 100% live. How does this differ, though, to the event that you did last year, and what can people expect to see if they attend?
I'll start a little bit. It's bigger. We are happy to say that this is a very big meeting again, and we are overwhelmed, positively overwhelmed, and very happy by the response we've gotten from our members. What we've done very deliberately is to make it as interactive as possible. And it has, I would say, built-in smart digital components. So even if people cannot come to the meeting in person, we will have captured content available. The poster sessions have digital enhancements, and we have some new and very interesting programming directions that I'm gonna throw it over to Pat again, because that's also a little bit the focus of his presidency next year, and he'll talk a little bit about the sessions that he's in that I think are going to be very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. So if just following up with what Tina was mentioning, we have a lot of our basic science and our applied sciences, and all those are moving forward again this year. But what's really great is some of the kind of format changes to increase the interactions and collaborations between our members. So for example, we'll be engaging members on all areas of the convention center. In the exhibit hall, we'll have scientific programming. In like your standard, let's say, podium sessions, we'll have your scientific programming. And so basically, we're bringing scientific programming to almost every square foot of that convention center to increase those opportunities. But in terms of the scientific programming itself, we're doing some really exciting things this year, and I really support this in my presidency. We're looking really at the intersection of business and science. And I think AAPS may be one of the only organizations that I know of that actually has that kind of programming. Scientific organizations tend to have a lot of science, right? But we're actually really supporting this year and moving forward this intersection between business and science. So for example, we're going to have a roundtable session on Monday morning of the meeting, where basically it's called Exploring Funding Opportunities Within Current Capital Markets. And we have a person who is involved in government funding, a person who's involved in other kinds of funding. So we have funders, but then we also have scientists. We have AAPS members who have risen through the ranks and who are entrepreneurs and have started companies. And so we're going to have that roundtable session on Monday, for example. And we have other exciting things during the entire week, which will really look at this interface between business and science, including our closing plenary session with the CEO of Waters.
Well, that's really interesting, actually. And I have to say, as someone who's worked in many, many different industries over my career, I've found it really interesting that how many scientists, because of the very nature of their work, developing new products or not projects, but working on projects, trying to solve problems, end up looking for funding because they have an idea which can be commercialized and then can help people and a much wider audience. So that sounds great that you're actually doing that at the event. What else though can people expect? Because you said you've got some innovative ways that people can engage. So what are some of the innovative ways that people will be able to engage at the show other than just turning up or maybe looking at their phone and seeing something's on demand? So what else, what sort of interactivity are we talking about when you say they've got some innovative ways to engage?
Well, we have a lot of things going on in what we call the Solution Center. I think people know us as well for our career development programming. So there are sessions that are focused on helping people advance their career. They can have their resumes critiqued. They can have a professional headshot taken. There are several sessions also picking up on the theme we just talked about, how people's career evolve from the bench scientist maybe to becoming an entrepreneur or to going into a regulatory agency. There's several sessions that are very discussion or panel oriented, where many of our members talk about their own career experiences, which not always follow sort of the traditional career path through an academic or an industry career. We have other session formats like the very popular rapid fires. We have an Ask the Regulator session in the bioanalytical area, on the recently completed M10 guidance, ICH. We have the hot topic sessions, and of course the poster sessions. I know Pat is looking forward to that. I know you're hosting a special poster collection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
That's fantastic. It sounds very exciting. I'm looking forward to finding out what's happening when I turn up in Boston next week. Looking ahead, though, and I'll ask you, Pat, as you're the new incoming president, and we talked a little bit about your remit that you want to sort of look more at industry as well and the science and the relationship between industry and science. What can we expect to see going forward from the AAPS as we move into 2023?
Well, I think what you're going to see, from AAPS during this next year is, this constant evolution of cutting edge science. It's really important to our members. And, we want to continue to evolve as an organization and serve our members and our partners' needs. And to do that, we want to make sure our content is fresh and we want to stay relevant. I think we also want to continue to be a year-round association with a commitment to our face-to-face meetings, for example. In other words, we want to have that full year of programming. We have programming, we kind of kick off our year with PharmaSci360, but then we move to the National Biotechnology Conference, and then we have our summer sessions, which are summer forum, I guess it's called, that we're starting up next year. And so we want to keep that up. The calendar for all these events will be available soon. We're working on that right now. And as you know, next year, our AAPS meetings will be in Orlando, Florida.
All right, so not very far from you then, Tina, then I'm guessing.
That's correct. PharmSci will be basically in my neighborhood next year.
Yeah, that wasn't deliberate or something, was it?
No,
Tina?
that was decided way before I came. We have PharmSci in Orlando, and then the National Biotechnology Conference is in Philadelphia next year in April. And as Pat said, a new conference format in the Summer Scientific Forum, which will be in Minneapolis in July.
Fantastic. Well, look, so closing then, I'll ask both of you this. If you could say in a sentence why people should be coming next week to PharmaSci360, what would you say to them, Tina, to say why they should be coming? And then I'll ask Patrick the same question.
Because it's going to be a wonderful and exciting meeting that really represents to me the best of what AAPS has always been to everybody in the pharmaceutical sciences. Whether it satisfies your career development, your leadership, your scientific interests, and you get to meet so many fantastic people. It's going to be fun.
Fantastic. And Patrick?
Yeah, so you have to let me go first next time, okay?
I'll remember to do that. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. No, I think really comes down for me to two things, cutting edge science and being able to reconnect after this long pandemic, with friends and colleagues. That's
fantastic.
The two most important things, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, I really appreciate you both taking time out to talk to me today. It's been lovely to meet you both for the first time. I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person next week in Boston as well. So, Tina, thank you very much for your time. And Patrick, thank you. And congratulations and good luck with your presidency for next year. And as I say, viewers, if you would like to know more about the AAPS and, of course, next week's event in Boston, PharmaSci360, then the link to the AAPS and also to the event will be above the video. So you can click on both things and find out about both the association and the actual event if you haven't registered yet. So all that's going to say is thank you very much once again, both of you. I look forward to seeing you in Boston, all being well. And viewers, thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.